Text is 885-3776. You can also call me on the junction phone. Fueled by Prince Oil Company. Prince Oil has been fueling Central Mississippi since 1960. That's a little while back. They've been doing it for a while. Fuel in your vehicle and fuel in your stomach when you go through the deli there at the junction. And the junction phone line number is 897-1059. 601 number. 897-1059. I think got the audio going now on the live stream. That seems to be working, so y'all hit me up there and jump on in here. All right, good. Hey. First up, hold on, time out. Hold on just a minute. Where's my ringy-dingy thing? Hey, Beeve, can you hear me?
I can.
How was yesterday the reunion of the old crew in the studio?
I think it went well.
Good. Instead of as far as like how it went, how was it just kind of you and Chris there together again for 2 hours in the Farm Bureau Insurance studio? How was that?
It was good. It was good to see him.
Yeah.
Good to hear his old nonsense.
Okay, great. Was it would you say it was like a sports show, or was it a little bit of an everything show, or was it a non-sports show?
Well, you know what you're going to get. Mostly with Chris, it's going to be mostly not sports. But
okay.
I think he probably talked more sports than he used to.
Okay.
Which, not that it was, that's not saying that it was some kind of deep dive into sports, but it was more than he used to talk.
Well, that's great. That's great. How did you feel about it, Beaver, personally? Like, was it uncomfortable? Was it like riding a bike? It was all good? What?
Oh, it was just like old times.
Okay, good. Good. Did he steal anything from the studio this time?
He didn't.
Okay.
He didn't steal anything.
Right. So all the hand sanitizer and things that was there before is still there?
Yeah, still here.
Okay. Brooks, I hope he's listening. We're just picking on you. That's all. I was kind of hoping, Beaver, that he would show up yesterday and without any previous warning would like make good on one of those bets and promises he made you over the years and never came through on. What was one of them was some type of cereal box or something he was going to bring you, like Fruity Pebbles or something that he owed you. And another was what was it, chicken from the gas station?
There was, let's see, there was the cereal, there was chicken, there was clothing, there was a trip to a basketball game. Mm-hmm. That's all I can remember off the top of my head.
Again, Chris, if you're listening, I'm just picking on you, so I really do appreciate you. And everybody had a really good time listening to y'all. I got lots of texts and messages and stuff yesterday, so yeah, that was fun. We'll have to do that again. Just really do appreciate it. All right, let me jump over here to the Country Pleasing text line. Let's get started. You can text the show, 885-3776. 601 number. J-Rock says, nothing against Chris Brooks. He did a good job, but man, I'm glad you're back. Thumbs up. Hail State football emoji. Thanks, J-Rock. Glad to be back with you. And like I say, without repeating myself completely, I clipped out somewhere in the neighborhood of, 10, 12 plays from Arizona State's first game. It was last week against Northern Arizona, an FCS team. And they were a little sloppy and stuff, but I clipped them out to show some examples of things they're doing. You can only tell so much, and I may use that to post a film study video like of an opponent coming up on the YouTube channel. So it's kind of fresh on my head. If you want to talk any about them or you got any questions about them, just feel free to fire away, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Patches O'Houlihan on the old Country Pleasing text line. He's on the all-name team. He said, I'm not one to tell tales out of school, but Beaver was really hammering your sound effects yesterday. Said, but Brooks was defending you, I must say. Well, and that's probably because, I think what it is that it's not that Beaver has a problem just with all sound effects. It's just that he has an issue with some of them, especially when non-King of the Hill sound effects outweigh the presence of King of the Hill sound effects on the show.
Now you listen to me, mister. I work for a living. And I mean real work, not writing down gobbledygook.
See, like he's probably okay with that. I don't know. Beef's probably okay with that one. It's all right though. And if Beaver did really hammer the use of sound effects on yesterday's show, I'm not surprised. I know he hates them. Bama fan texted the show, top of the show, and says, upset of the week is Mississippi State over Arizona State. He's putting a score on it here on a Thursday. He said 31-24. And he's calling Bama beating ULM 60-7. Making up for losing last week Florida State and then playing at home and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And maybe so. Look, I'll be honest with you, Bama fan, regarding State and Arizona State, the more I watch, and I've tried to be consistent with, I didn't do this, honestly, the last couple of years, 2023, and then because they were so awful, I couldn't bear to watch it. Last year, that was offensively 2 years ago with the change and stuff. It was like, why put yourself through that? And I was sort of out on college sports with everything they were going through. It was just it's like it's watching flies buzzing around on what. And then last year, defensively, it was so awful. What was the point? Okay, so I didn't get. But this year, I'm back into it, and I'm trying to do my best, watch and then rewatch, because the more you do, the more familiar you become with it. Anyway, long lead in to say, Bama fan, I think my eyes tell me that Arizona State was a much more physical team in week one against their opponent than State was in week one against its opponent. That's the way it looks. On the surface, if you put it on the screen and you just start watching it, Arizona State versus their opponent, FCS Northern Arizona, they looked more physical against theirs than State did against theirs, which is, Southern Miss, new coach, new players, all that. And so and it's hard to sort of balance that because you're looking at different opponents. And like State was on the road against a better opponent, Arizona State was at home against an opponent that probably would lose to Southern Miss if they played, right? And you see what I mean? You're trying to balance all that out. And I'm sure there's something there. New team for Southern Miss, 65 new players, a bunch of them from Marshall. New coach, they had a real tough camp. They were they're bigger and more athletic than Northern Arizona, sure. And so maybe that played into it. But I'm just saying, I think State, from a physicality standpoint, that is, especially offensive line, but even defensive line, even the way you run and tackle, even the way you hit and block out on the edge, State, all of that's got to really take that up a huge notch from last week to this week if they're going to go toe-to-toe with Arizona State. That's just what my eyes tell me on it. Yeah, and Bama fan said also, go to last week, he predicted the score, 34-17. Check the text message. I'm looking at it. It was last Friday at 12:36 p.m., so in hour one, he said 34-17 MSU. And he's picking State to win this one this week. I hope you're right again. Because I'm telling you now, that's a good Arizona State team. If State wins, they will have done something. I promise you that. Hey, before I go too far, here, top of the hour on this Thursday, let's hit headlines. Here we go.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines on the show brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Anything mortgage related, that's where you're going to want to go. Trust me, the kind of people you want to talk to as well. My man went, one of them went. The Mortgage Man Group. Headline number one. More than 8,000 NIL deals have been approved by the new College Sports Commission. The CSC, say that 5 times fast. The College Sports Commission has cleared more than 8,300 name, image, and likeness deals that are worth nearly $80 million. They are putting that news out there today. It's the first full update on how the system is working. The commission, they are in charge of approving any contract for any player in college sports that's worth $600 or more. That can be between college athletes and third-party companies. They've got 28,342 students signed up on the NIL Go platform. That's since June 11th when it opened up. Listen, did you hear what now I'm actually taking this from the article. Let me tell you again. 1 is the number, 2 is the descriptor. 28,342 students. Also, over 3,200 agents. They call them, quote unquote, representatives. So there's your update. 8,300, 80 million. That's what's been approved so far. They're still going through others. Listen to this. Listen now. This is awful. Florida State freshman linebacker Ethan Pritchard was shot in the back of the head Sunday night, but remains in stable condition at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. That's according to his father. So this was Sunday night, at the day after they had beaten Alabama. Ethan Pritchard shot while driving his aunt home from a family gathering in Havana, Florida, which is about 16 miles from Tallahassee. It's near the Georgia state line. Here's the quote from the father, Earl Pritchard. He was actually in the car taking my sister around the corner to her daughter's house to drop her off. They turned the corner, and as soon as they turned the corner, they heard gunshots. Thank the Lord that he is in stable condition at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. Unbelievable. Alabama defensive lineman Jeremiah Beeman got hurt in practice, and he's out for the season. It happened yesterday. So they were banged up before the Florida State game. Now it's even worse since. More bad news for Alabama. They're going to be without him for the rest of the year. Lower body injury yesterday in practice. And then finally, headlines. We got football tonight, NFL football. Cowboys and Eagles, the Super Bowl defending champion Eagles. Super Bowl champion, defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. Got it there. Third time's a charm. NBC or Peacock. Tonight it says kickoff at 7:20. Let's hope. I guarantee it'll be closer to 7:30, but we shall see. I'll get to watch about an hour before bedtime. Cowboys and Eagles tonight. Season opener, Thursday Night Football in the NFL. And those are your headlines. Brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Luminate Bank. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Mortgagemanms.com. Over on Facebook, Brad says, do they still get paid when they get hurt? I don't know, Brad. I don't know what it says in the contract. It's a good question, though. Sven's prediction for tonight's NFL on NBC matchup. Is Eagles 144, Cowboys 3. Will says on YouTube, tonight the Eagles start the Super Bowl repeat campaign against a Parsons-less Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys' offense will be improved in addition to the offensive line of George Pickens, and says, but their defense will be wrecked. Dak will lead them on 3 touchdown drives, but the defense will give up almost 200 yards rushing. Eagles big, 34-21. And then he says, but the Dallas defense, yeah, okay, I just read that. Sorry, I read the same thing twice. Oh, and Will said regarding State, he says, my gut tells me the difference for State will be a fairy field goal, but I'm not sure it'll be a miss or a make. 24-27, Arizona State. Moral victory and some momentum for State and a gut check for ASU. That's what Will says. Yeah, I don't give the Cowboys any chance of winning the ball game tonight. And I really don't in my gut. I'm just telling you kind of how I feel about it in my gut. And then, so I hope I watch it and am bad wrong. Hope Dak throws 4 touchdown passes, right? And looks great and the Cowboys win. And I'd be fine with all that. But I sure don't think it's happening. Nick texted the show on the Country Pleasing text line. He said, having Brooks yesterday was like 1 year with Arnett. Come on. See, you can't say that. It's just not true. Because, I mean, everybody complains when I miss, which has been often lately. And, you know, there's nothing there except the National. And everybody complains about that. And everybody to a person says anything would be better than that. And the thing is, everybody loves Chris. You got lots of texts yesterday said they loved hearing him back on the radio. Beaver said it went great. I wish I could have heard it. All right, just getting started with y'all. By the way, if you're on the live stream, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, or Facebook, check out my new hoodie, the real thin material Columbia hoodie. So I can prove it's got a hood. Look at that. With the interlocking MSU. I had one that's maroon. It's got the baseball logo. I got it from the Mississippi State University golf course. But I just got this from them. Same thing, thin material, but it's black with the maroon interlocking MSU on the front. It's the favorite, and this is saying something, the most favorite piece of anything I've ever gotten from the Mississippi State University golf course. Go get yours there. They still have some left. All right? Rolling along. Back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, pork and pineapple bun size, 3 links bun size. Look at that right there. Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage. We'll be right back after this message from C Spire. My name is Matt Wyatt. I host the Matt Wyatt radio show out of my home using C Spire fiber.
And when we hit the road as a family, Matt's show goes with us, thanks to C Spire Wireless.
Its ultra-reliable nationwide network lets me broadcast live from anywhere.
And never miss a moment that matters.
Connecting you to what inspires you most on C Spire's blazing fast 5G network. And right now, get your choice of free phone. That's customer inspired. That's C Spire.
Y'all like coffee? I know you do. Check it out. Little High Point Roasters from New Albany, Mississippi. That is the breakfast blend. It's whole bean. And if you notice, that's how much I've had already. Brazil Oberon. Not Orgeron or Orgeron, you LSU. No, Brazil Oberon. That ain't all. What we got there? What flavor is that? Papua New Guinea grade AA. Bring it on. High Point Roasters, New Albany, Mississippi. Roast it right there. That's whole bean. One more. I got more. Oh, that's right.
Get in on the conversation and tell him what you think. Right now on the Zone 1059 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you here in the first hour of the show. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Farm Bureau Go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Sven says, regarding state, we need at least 20 carries from Booth and Fluff each to have a chance against Arizona State. So there comes our offensive line in play. We will see how much improved they are. If you run the ball 40 times, what was their number the other day? They were fairly balanced. Okay. And I probably, anytime I say that, or anybody else does for that matter, we probably ought to add in the qualifier, the context that Mike Leach, the late great Mike Leach, said that idea of balance was stupid, about how many times you handed it off versus how many times you threw it in the air to somebody. He felt like real balance would be you have to defend everybody, at one time or another. Well, let's see. So in the game the other day, there were 40 rushing attempts and 37 pass attempts for State, for example. And that seems about right, and if you have 40 rushing attempts total in a game and you ran 78 plays, that's a pretty good number. So let's see, you can average it going 40 and 40 pass, 40 rush, then it's going to be hard to get 20 apiece, but you could get close to that. Like the other day, Daniels had 4 carries. Let's see, 3 of those were for Croman Hawk when he was in there. They used Burnside for 1. He had a 6-yard run. Shapen had 6 carries, if you will. Kamario Taylor is credited with 1. He actually had 2, but his touchdown run got brought back for holding. So that would be tough. Like the other day, Booth had 16 for 79 and a score. Bothwell had 9 for 43 and 2 touchdowns. And the deal is they averaged the same. Booth averaged 4.9, Bothwell 4.8. And so to me, Sven, I think everybody would like to have seen those numbers, a little bigger and a little more inflated against who you were playing against. Basically a 5-yard average for both of those guys is pretty good, pretty doggone good. Booth had a long run of 16, Bothwell 11, 3 touchdown runs between them, and a combined 140 yards rushing. You just, you'd like to see a little more, wouldn't you? Combined for 160, 170, maybe a couple of bigger runs, both average right around 6 yards a carry. That'd be great, wouldn't it? But that's just pushing and pulling numbers. I see where you're coming from. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it sounds about right, give or take a few. Will said the first SEC matchup of the season this weekend, Ole Miss versus Kentucky. Last year, Wildcats upset the Rebels in a close one for Kentucky's lone SEC win, and it partially cost Ole Miss a shot at the playoff. Well, we know it did. I don't know how in the world they won that game last year, but it's one of those where they had just a couple of guys up front, defensive line, who were hard to block and just gave them absolute fits. You know, just one of those days. You know, and you start to look over the long haul of it, Kiffin, you know, is so good pretty much all the time, but then there's the occasional head scratcher, and like that one really cost them. Will went on to say, now Kentucky looks worse than the 5 and 7 squad from last year. It's actually, the game's in Lexington this year, right? Because they played in Oxford last year. Ole Miss motivated for revenge. Says, I think the Rebels roll and get Kentucky back for last year. 42-10 is what he said on that. I'm with you. I think, you know, I touched on it earlier in the week. I went back and watched the recap package of Kentucky, and, yeah, they don't look that good. They certainly don't look to have some of the heft on their line of scrimmage that they've had in recent years or even had last year. Calzada is their quarterback he's on about his 4th or 5th school now. So he's a first-year guy. And, yeah, I mean, it's one of those where for Kentucky to have a chance in that game, they're going to have to play really, really well and hope that Ole Miss plays really, really poorly, because it's not even as, you know, like you said, it was sort of a one-off. Kentucky had a great down the line of scrimmage, pressured Jackson Dart. That was their only SEC win. Well, whatever that gap was in that matchup last year between Ole Miss and Kentucky, it's a much bigger gap this year. And to me, it doesn't really matter where they play it, but, you know, we'll see. Hey, let me go back to, I'm going to get lost on this if I'm not careful. State Grad 98 texted the show on the Country Pleasing text line. He said, I predict that State will beat the Mustard Buzzards. Well, I mean, that would be, well, you're talking about Arizona State, 30. Okay, he predicted, State Grad 98 predicted that State would beat Southern Miss 34-17 last Saturday. He said, I'm really good at predicting scores after the game is over. Well, in defense of Bama fan, he did. I could go back and find it where last week he texted ahead of time and he called the score. He really did. All right, Jason in Flagstaff, Arizona says on the text line, careful, Matt Wyatt. Anything this side of, quote, Arizona State isn't an SEC team, thus is overrated, derp, 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 gets you called a closet ASU fan by some folks. And then he wants to know how close it is to a sellout of the game. I definitely don't see Arizona State being ready for that noise if it's anywhere near full. Yeah, I think it's going to be near full, but maybe not completely. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know. I mean, there's some time, obviously, between now and the game. But, you know, early in the week, there was a bit of a social media push to get people to buy their tickets and come to the game. So, you know, I don't know if the program has bounced back into sellout territory yet, just to be honest with you. And I think therefore the push from notable players and the department and coaches and everything of encouraging people to get their tickets and come to the game, which is, like I said, they probably have no choice. It's probably the right thing to do. I generally, personally, I kind of cringe a little bit when I see big-time football programs kind of begging people to come to their game. I don't, you know, I hate that you're in a position where you kind of have to do that. But to your point, look, I'm just telling it like I see it. This is one where I really want to be wrong, Jason. I want them to kick off and for State to immediately be the more physical team and to just execute better and for the noise and everything to really rattle and give Arizona State problems and State get up and able to hang on to the momentum and squeak out a win somehow. I really hope they're able to do that. I think I'm just telling you what I kind of see, what it looks like, and it's such a small sample size. Of course, we saw Arizona State last year, and they're one team that in a lot of ways is kind of the same, right? Quarterback, a lot of defensive guys back. Don't have Scatterboo. But I think State on the road, week 1, them at home. State versus a better team on the road than what Arizona State played at home. Although whatever that gap is between Southern Miss and Northern Arizona, I don't really know how giant a gap that is, So there's those differences. I just think that the physical effort that State put out there, particularly on the offensive line last week, was good enough to beat Southern Miss down there. But that kind of physical effort is nowhere near good enough to stay on the field with Arizona State. That's how I feel about it. So it's going to have to be a much more energetic, physical, and maybe it will be, right? And it can be if you're good and you have spent a lot on these players that come in. They got some talent. They got one game under their belt together now. You get one of the linemen back and practice together this week, and maybe you go out and you're that much more of a cohesive unit on the offensive line, and you're scouting an opponent who you've got game tape of, and so some of the matchups go your way, some of that stuff. But that's really what they're going to need. J-Rock texted the show. He said, those numbers you quoted, $80 million, 8,000 or so, at the least comes to $10,000 per athlete. He says, I thought it would be more than that. Yeah, and, I guess that would be if you average that out, right? It was over $80 million approved in NIL deals, 8,300 and something. And the deals all have to be $600 or more, right? So you're going to have some at $600, and you're going to have some at way on the top end, and then it balances it out. But you're right, on average, somewhere around $10,000 per. But see, here's the thing about it, J-Rock. That's the whole NCAA, right? So what if we got those numbers, like, say, just for SEC football? What do you think that would average? It wouldn't be $10,000 per athlete, I promise you. It might be closer to $100,000 an athlete if we did that. Or more even. Really, like maybe even more. Nick texted the show. First round QB and top three wide receiver versus Coleman Hutzler. Nick said, call me skeptical. He's got some help now. Coach Rhodes and Coach McIntyre and some better players and a whole full defensive line room of older guys, so he's got some of that. But I'm telling you, the quarterback's a player. He can do it all. He can really run, throws it really well on the move. And, yeah, they're saying that some people have their receiver rated as could be one of the top 2 or 3 receivers taken in next year's draft. They've got players. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, rolling along. Back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
The Junction Delis, convenience redefined, and Prince Oil Company, a match made in heaven. The Junction Deli, fueled by Prince Oil Company. Prince Oil Company has been fueling Central Mississippi since 1960. It's a pretty good little while. Wonderful people. Man, am I ever more tickled that they're a part of the show and I'm a part of their team now. As you know, if you listen to the radio show, I've been to the Junction in several different places around the state. I've bought gas just like you at a lot of places that are fueled by Prince Oil Company, and they are really wonderful people. By the way, that brand spanking new Junction Deli, Chevron, right across the highway from Germantown High School. It's in Canton. We say Gluckstadt. Do you realize they and other Junction Delis, they serve country-pleasing sausage over there on the buffet? They don't get much better than that. The Junction and Prince Oil Company. That's what I'm talking about.
We'll be right back after this message from C Spire. My name is Matt Wyatt. I host the Matt Wyatt radio show out of my home using C Spire fiber.
And when we hit the road as a family, Matt's show goes with us, thanks to C Spire Wireless.
Its ultra-reliable nationwide network lets me broadcast live from anywhere.
And never miss a moment that matters.
Connecting you to what inspires you most on C Spire's blazing fast 5G network. And right now, get your choice of free phone. That's customer inspired. That's C Spire.
Welcome to my photography studio downtown Tupelo. Everybody needs a headshot, especially if you're in the professional world, in sales, any sort of customer-related business, outreach business, anything like that. Everybody needs a headshot. Here at my photography studio in Tupelo, we do a lot more than just headshots, but we're kind of focusing on headshots for that very reason, because everybody needs it. Let me show you a little something about it. One thing I'm able to do here is sort of have 2 to 3 different looks in a small space that we can do in a short amount of time. Several different looks and styles of lighting with studio equipment, studio lighting. Some with flash and a particular look that I've worked on, a constant lighting scenario where you sit down, the lights are already on, you lean in, and we kind of illuminate the whole face. And we get several options in the studio in a short amount of time. Here's 2 priorities for me when I shoot headshots. One is it has to look like you. Okay, none of this fake stuff. The other goal is it's got to look like you at your best. And that's my job as a photographer. And I've got a lot of experience over the years, and I feel really confident I can do that for you. I would love to schedule a session for you here at the studio in downtown Tupelo. I'm above the Reed's Gift Shop, just off of Troy Street, the corner of Troy and Spring. If you can't get to Tupelo, that's okay. Let's talk about it, because we can pack the studio up and come to you if the schedules fit and that sort of thing. I'd love to help you with your headshots. I think everybody needs them. I'm inviting you to please email me, reach out. You can go to my website, mattwyattmedia.com, email address matt@mattwyattmedia.com, and let's talk about your headshot. Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi, local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agents.
He's got a menu full on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at the Zone 105.9.com.
Back with you. This will be for Jason. Sven on YouTube says he's expecting 55,000 to be the attendance at the Arizona State game. Said the last sellout was the Moorhead versus Mullen game. Is that right? Well, that's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while. MSU 1980 texted and said, Matt, Tupelo wrestled the All Sports Award away from Madison Central for last year. It was announced yesterday. So Madison Central had gotten it for 4 years in a row. Tupelo had a great sports year. Well, how about that? Yeah, the Golden Wave of Tupelo, they've done a really good job. Of course, football is really blowing and going. They have Ty Harden and his staff at Tupelo High School have done a fantastic job for a lot of years now, and it started with sort of really, really getting after the program as a whole, not just at the high school level and, getting kids energized and, in lifting and looking forward to it, an atmosphere that they really enjoy competing in there and getting better, but building up your junior high program and junior varsity. So 7th and 8th grade football and then 9th grade football, and keeping kids out there and enjoying it. And it's really built up. And then, of course, they've won a couple of girls' state championship basketball trophies. And so, yeah, and they're always good at baseball and compete at other stuff too. Paramedic Jay texted the show, said MSU is getting to show off the new light show. They want people to come see it. LOL. Yeah, that's right. That's right. showing it off. Well, I don't mind it because all that kind of stuff's not for me anyway. One, I didn't go through what fans go through and buy the ticket and go to all that effort. And players, they're different too. I'm just a guy working it on the radio, so it doesn't matter if I like it or not. But at other stadiums, I learned this. I think the first time I experienced it was at Alabama. The LED lights start going nuts, and it'll flash different colors, like red and then bright, and then they would mix in blue, and all these different colors start flashing. And it sort of had an effect on me. The first time I'm just watching like everybody else, and the next thing you know, man, I started feeling woozy and kind of dizzy, and then I started getting a headache, and so I have to cover my eyes up. I don't know what that is. I have been a migraine person, and so I don't know if that has something to do with it or what. But the lights deal, it has an effect on me. I've been in other places like indoors where you'll have these different colored LED lights that the room is kind of changing colors quickly, and it has I don't know how to explain it. It just has a weird effect on me. Like it starts to physically affect me. I have to get out of there. So I'll just, I'll take my Country Pleasing hat that I'll be wearing in the booth from Country Pleasing Sausage, made at Country Meat Packers on Highway 49 in Florence, Mississippi. And I'll just shade my eyes until Spotter Jonathan taps me on the shoulder that it's safe to look. And I hope everybody else enjoys it and has a great time. Grumpy texts the show and says, with a picture here, Matt, Tuesday evening at MRA, 6th grade football, MRA 23, Jackson Prep 15. Holt, in this picture, knocking down a prep defender. Beaver did a great job yesterday, as usual. He carried the show. I knew he would. He said his only complaint was no train whistle when More Bully came on the show. So he called in. So More Bully called into the Junction phone line. Was he nice to Brooks? He's probably nicer to him than he was to me. More Bully has been fed up with me lately, and that's okay. Join the club. Grumpy also said that he thinks we will be pleasantly surprised Saturday evening with MSU's performance. Signed, Hail State. I'll have a sip of coffee to that, Grumpy. Hot coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. All right, Jason in Flagstaff. Text the show, Country Pleasing text line. Says, I'm with you. I don't see State winning. He said, I'm not sure it'll be all that close, so I'm grasping at straws because I hope State beats them by 50. I'm with you, Jason. I'm kind of where you are. I'm in a weird spot on this because my heart, man, I want State to win it and go to 2-0 and have some momentum, and everything will feel great for the first time in a long time. And, man, this opportunity is humongous. I would love to see them do it. But my head and my eyes, when I look at it, are telling me a different outcome, But Jason said, I'm tired of hearing about Arizona State, frankly. I'm ready to tell my neighbors that they're number one, if you catch my drift. Yeah, I got you. Tired of hearing about them, huh? I got you. Jason, did you see the videos on social media of the Arizona State football practice where they were ringing the bells? And they had the little dinky cowbells like, that. It's like I used to have one that Mary Liddy would play with when she was small. It's a little one like the kid size, and ding, 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 ding. And they had about 30 people out there ringing those. And I thought to myself, well, I get why you're doing it, but why would you even do that? That's because it's a waste of their attention and energy. That's not doing anything because it's not even remotely close to what you're getting into. So why would you do that? Here is a soundbite, Jason, from Kenny Dillingham, the head coach at Arizona State, where the first part of the question he's talking about Blake Shapen playing under Jeff Lebby, and then he gets into some of the cowbell stuff. But he starts off with Shapen.
Yeah, well, he's year 2 in the system, so he's more comfortable in the system. You can see his comfort in the system. Their whole, they're just year 2 in the system. So they're just a little bit further ahead than they were last year. You can see it. They're more comfortable than they were last year off week 1's game. So I don't know if you can ever do the same thing twice to a good player. I think if we line up and, we try to just copy paste and say, oh, the game plan in the first half worked last year, let's do it again. I think that's a recipe, to not feel good.
And then quick follow-up from that. You prepared the team for the environment of potentially humidity last week with the humidifiers inside the dome. Is that going to be a week-to-week thing, you feel like, with this team, preparing them for each different kind of environment, especially with what you mentioned with the cowbells?
We'll definitely prepare for environments. We'll have the cowbells rocking for practice and stuff like that. We won't mix humidity in just from the dehydration effects. Like, we don't want to distract by making the practices worse. At the end of the day, we got to get better. We have to be a better football team. We have to coach better. We have to get our guys to execute better. So this is the full focus is on us, regardless of who we play. Same thing I said before in AU, same thing I said before Mississippi State. Like, we met today. We saw the errors. I showed them my errors, right? Showed them our errors as a whole group. And then it's like, okay, this is what we have to do to fix it. And let's go fix it and go play a football game.
It's Kenny Dillingham earlier this week talking about shape, and then you got a question about atmosphere and that sort of thing. I think weather-wise, sort of holding in there that in North Mississippi, the temperature really went up today. It's going to go up even more tomorrow. So North Mississippi is going to be hot tomorrow, like high of 96 is the last thing that I saw. Let me see, 95. But, man, this is crazy. So overnight, tomorrow night, Friday night, this front comes through. It drops a whole bunch of rain in certain spots in North Mississippi on Saturday morning. Then throughout the day, Saturday, there's a chance of rain at around 20% or whatever into the night. But the high on Saturday in North Mississippi is 77 degrees. So, like, if I were to just screenshot that right there, that 24-hour window of tomorrow, a high of 95, and one day later, overnight, all day, a high of 77. And then it's like next week's going to be nice. The whole week. How about that? We'll see. We'll see if that's what happens. Bama fan texted in. He said, I hope the cowbells are loud. Deafening. They'll be pretty loud. Do you have to ring responsibly for non-conference games? I'm asking for a friend. Asking for a friend. Yeah, Sven said the last sellout was Moorhead versus Mullen. Will said it is a night game, but it's still an out-of-conference game. And says, and we know that MSU fans care more about the SEC matchups, and so maybe that could be part of it also. Well, and who knows? There might even be a few people that if you talk to them, they're like, look, when we see the game times, we started making plans for this a while back. And generally, we just avoid those early season. Those first couple of weeks is usually it's blooming hot. You go to the SEC games later in the year. There's probably some that are that way. It's going to be, look, to be there on this first weekend in September and have a day where it's a high of 77, I don't even know what to do with it. I can't believe it. So that wraps for Hour 1 in the Bureau. Hour 2 coming up. Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. Back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, oh, pork and pineapple. Bun size, 3 links bun size. Look at that right there. Whee! Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Welcome to my photography studio downtown Tupelo. Everybody needs a headshot, especially if you're in the professional world, in sales, any sort of customer related business, outreach business, anything like that. Everybody needs a headshot. Here at my photography studio in Tupelo, we do a lot more than just headshots, but we're kind of focusing on headshots for that very reason, because everybody needs it. Let me show you a little something about it. One thing I'm able to do here is sort of have 2 to 3 different looks in a small space that we can do in a short amount of time. Several different looks and styles of lighting with studio equipment, studio lighting. Some with flash and a particular look that I've worked on, a constant lighting scenario where you sit down, the lights are already on, you lean in, and we kind of illuminate the whole face. And we get several options in the studio in a short amount of time. Here's 2 priorities for me when I shoot headshots. One is it has to look like you. Okay, none of this fake stuff. The other goal is it's got to look like you at your best. And that's my job as a photographer. And I've got a lot of experience over the years, and I feel really confident I can do that for you. I would love to schedule a session for you here at the studio in downtown Tupelo. I'm above the Reed's Gift Shop, just off of Troy Street, the corner of Troy and Spring. If you can't get to Tupelo, that's okay. Let's talk about it, because we can pack the studio up and come to you if the schedules fit and that sort of thing. I'd love to help you with your headshots. I think everybody needs them. I'm inviting you to please email me, reach out. You can go to my website, mattwhyattmedia.com, email address matt@mattwhyattmedia.com, and let's talk about your headshot.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi, local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do, at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
To Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LA.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar. green onion. And no, it's not a grill. See that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar, or maybe green.
Online at thezone1059.com.
Get a $15 prepaid MasterCard after rebate when you buy 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. WRKS Pickens Jackson. We are good to go. With more of the Matt Wyatt Show. Coming to you direct and live at the Zone 1059 and worldwide. Now, here we go. At the Zone1059.com.
All right, here we go. Back with you. Hour 2 of the show off and running. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. You can be a part of it. All you got to do is comment on the live stream or text in or call in, one or the other. If you're out there in YouTube or Facebook land or X, formerly Twitter, just type in a comment, post it. I can pop it up on the screen right here, and you can be a part of it. Somebody earlier on Facebook was asking if the players get hurt, they still get their NIL payment. And Houston on Facebook said, yes, they do. They still get paid even if they get hurt. Like it's built into the deal. And that's good news for the players, I guess. I reckon. And maybe that's just part of the cost of doing business, right? You're paying them with the, obviously knowing that there's a risk that they could get hurt. That's part of it. I know that's the way it is in the NFL. Lots of differences in the NFL in their deals. They've got 4-year contracts and 5 and rights and all that kind of stuff, but it's different. You can also text me on the Country Pleasin' text line. Country Pleasin' sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It's the best. Had a little jalapeno and cheddar with breakfast this morning. Yes, sir. I know you've heard that before. You can also call me on the Junction phone line, fueled by Prince Oil Company, fueling Mississippi since 1960. Everywhere you go in Mississippi, you'll see these Junction stores, Junction delis inside. They got great food. Out there at the pump, you can put food, fuel in your vehicle and go inside, put a little fuel in your belly. All thanks to the Junction and Prince Oil Company. And the phone number to call, 897-1059, just like the radio station, 1059, 601 number, 897-1059. Football games, who are they? Let's see, I don't see Thursday night football tonight in the college landscape, and I would guess that's because you get the NFL season opener between the Eagles and the Cowboys Thursday night. Nobody's going to want to compete with that. Are there any FCS games on tonight? No, I see everything is tomorrow. All of college football is off tonight, and it's only Friday and Saturday games and then whatever you get on Sunday and Monday. I haven't looked that far ahead. Let's see. Tomorrow, it's Friday college football. James Madison at Louisville. I almost said Louisville. At Louisville. Western Illinois at Northwestern. Northern Illinois at Maryland. And Eastern Washington at Boise State. So those are your Friday games. Of course, Saturday we do get to look forward to the State hosting Arizona State, and then we get also Jackson State goes to Southern Miss, M.M. Roberts Stadium down there. In-state matchup, 2 in a row for Southern Miss. Cool way to start the season for them and for their fans. And I'm seeing a 4 p.m. kickoff in Hattiesburg for that. Southern Miss hosting Jackson. Jackson State goes in 1-0. They beat Hampton last week. Of course, Southern Miss lost to State, but 4 p.m. kick in Hattiesburg. What about the rest of the SEC? Then we got one matchup between SEC schools. That's Kentucky and Ole Miss. All right, so chronologically, Saturday we get Texas hosting San Jose State. And you know how the internet is. It doesn't matter how good Arch Manning plays. San Jose State, doesn't matter. When Ohio State's defense is going to make a bunch of people look bad this year, you get ready for that. Texas A&M at 11:45 on Saturday. SEC Network, 11:45. Texas A&M hosting Utah State. 2:30 on the Plus, you get Georgia hosting Austin P. Let's go, P. Austin P. Their quarterback is Chris Parson, the former Mississippi State signee. And they won last week at Middle Tennessee State. I think that was a bit of an upset, too. They won up there, so they go to Georgia. That's at 2:30 on the Plus. And then 2:30 on ABC will be Kentucky hosting Ole Miss. Man, I didn't realize Austin Simmons threw for 340 yards in that game last week. And I guess a lot of that came late in the game. Also 2:30 on the Plus on Saturday, Tennessee will host East Tennessee State. 2:30 on ESPN2, Border War, Missouri hosting Kansas. 3:15 on the SEC Network, you get Florida hosting South Florida. Now look out. Look out. I mean, Florida, they're supposed to be good and all. They played a nobody last week. No, I don't know anybody's ever played them in the SEC. Who was it? Long Island? Anyway, Florida blew them out, as you would expect. They're 1-0. South Florida, they looked mighty physical to me in the whipping of Boise State last week. Now, a whole different challenge going into Gainesville, but that might be, who knows, it could be a better game than you think. 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon on the Plus, you get Arkansas hosting Arkansas State. And then 6 p.m. ESPN Plus, you get South Carolina hosting South Carolina State. 6:30 will be the State and Arizona State game, as well as LSU hosting La Tech, as well as at 6:30 on ABC Saturday night, big game. Oklahoma hosting Michigan. 6:30 Saturday night on the Ute, you get Auburn hosting Ball State. 6:30 on the ACC Network, you get Vandy is at Virginia Tech, who just got thumped by South Carolina. We'll see how that goes. And then the latest kickoff in the SEC Saturday night, 6:45, SEC Network, Alabama at home in Tuscaloosa hosting UL Monroe, Louisiana Monroe. And so that's just a peek around the SEC start times and who's doing what. It's relatively uninteresting, right? Other than Kentucky and Ole Miss. That's interesting. It'll be interesting for about a quarter. Ole Miss probably blow the doors off on that thing. And then State and Arizona State, I mean, it's interesting here for obvious reasons. I think it is around the country compared to a lot of these other games. And then, of course, Oklahoma and Michigan's a big deal. But largely around the SEC, it's kind of like snoozer. No wonder they're going to 9 games. The fans be excited to see some of that go away, like Texas hosting San Jose State and all that. Who wants to watch that? No one. Elsewhere, around the top 25, 11th ranked Illinois goes to Duke. That'll be a morning game, Saturday morning. How about this one? Here's another school I never heard of. So last week, you had Florida hosting somebody called Long Island. This week, Saturday morning, Florida State, after whipping Alabama last week, is going to host East Texas A&M. You ever heard of that? It sounds like one of those schools, like if they make a movie, they can't do a real school, so they just call them East Texas A&M, but that's a real school. Iowa State and Iowa is a morning game on Fox. So I will just tell you again, if you want to see how a college football broadcast should look and how it should sound, you can't watch one of the ones on the acronym. You need to watch Fox. And so that'll be the game that kicks off right after their morning deal, Iowa State. So if you turn that on Fox, you'll see what it's supposed to look and sound like. Let's see. Baylor goes to SMU. Troy goes to Clemson, whatever. What else we got? Anything else? Nothing. Well, we've got games. We just don't have just a ton of great games. We had a lot more last week, opening weekend stuff, than we do this week across the country. But that's all right. Eases up this week. Now we just kind of all settle in. A few good games to pay attention to. Let's see. Sven letting me know that East Texas A&M are the Lions, and they play in the Southland Conference. Thanks for that, Sven. Delta Tide fan, let me back up here because I need to read. He said, I have mixed feelings about the 6:45 kickoff between Alabama and Louisiana Monroe on Saturday. On the plus side, it means I can get all my grass mowed Saturday afternoon after this big rain we had this past week. And I probably won't have to cut grass again for the rest of the year, he says. On the minus side, I'll have to watch the game either on a tablet or in my bedroom. And depending upon how the outcome of the game is, I may or may not be in a good mood for church on Sunday. He said, being the worship leader of the church, I kind of have to be in a good mood. We shall see how it turns out. He says, but if they play like they did against Florida State, if it's a win, it's going to be a close win. Buddy, let me just tell you, if it's close, even if they beat Louisiana Monroe, but it's close, you talk about all you know what breaking loose in the state of Alabama. You will not have seen anything quite like it in recent memory. I'm just telling you. I lived through some of that stuff a long time ago in the state of Alabama. It's different. I mean, true stories. Bill Curry, head coach, Alabama, brick through the window. They threw a brick through the window. Jay Barker, quarterback, Alabama, won a national championship. They threw a brick through the window of his truck. Sure did. I'm just telling you, it's different. Jason in Flagstaff says, speaking of Tupelo, you see where that Arizona State running back, 𝐁'Sone Brown, was raised and played football in Tupelo until his junior year of high school. Yeah, I went and looked that up. That's right. 𝐁'Sone Brown, who, let me tell you now, big physical dude. He can play. Sure did. Born and raised in Tupelo and played football there recently. Then moved to Texas. Regarding ring responsibly, I wondered if that applied to non-conference games. Bama fans said, do it anyway. Just ring them the whole time. Bama fans said, do it anyway and just ask for forgiveness. Patrick texts and he says, I'm sure we will be fine with the ringing fine if we ring the entire time. Hail State. Just not in the conference games. White Denzel texts with a heads up. Look at here. It hit stores in Mississippi today. It's here for a limited time only. A new look at this, Beaver, a new Bluebell ice cream. The flavor is classic pecan pie. Beav, did you see that picture he sent us of that ice cream? Bluebell classic pecan pie ice cream. What else was it I asked him about? There was something else. Denzel, some other food item. Hang on, what was it? I am drawing a blank. I can't remember what it is now. Oh, I would absolutely try this. Pecan pie ice cream? Want it. As a matter of fact, I don't know what it is, and they did a great job with that photo right there, of sort of pulling me in with it. Because it's not just ice cream, but it's all like a real pecan pie sitting there. And it makes me, I can taste it right now. And recently, Annabeth, I'm not a big ice cream eater, just overall. And there was some in the freezer that, like, she had bought for me a while back, and I didn't eat it. And it was like that chocolate and peanut butter stuff. And it's really good, okay, but I'm not a big ice cream eater. I didn't eat it. She's like, you wasted this. You didn't eat it. And I told her then, yeah, you know, I appreciate you thinking about me on that, but I'm not a big ice cream eater. You don't have to buy me ice cream. But this right here, if it came into the house, I would immediately want to try it. So Denzel, thanks for the heads up on that. All right, Ronnie texted the show. He says, all I'm going to say is State will win Saturday. Bank it. Ronnie, I hope you're right. Grumpy said, also, Matt, what is Bama fan predicting for Bama, Louisiana, Monroe? Grumpy wants to know. I think he said 60-7. Hold on. He said, yep. He said Alabama 60, Louisiana, Monroe 7. Andre from Jackson said, Matt, MSU wins by forfeit. Arizona State can't find a hotel. Attaboy. Attaboy, Andre. I like how you think. Here's Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham talking about all the transfers.
Mississippi State obviously beat Southern Mississippi. They gained almost 500 yards of offense, almost 200 yards rushing on the ground. Is this a different team this year than they were a year ago when you faced them?
Yeah, 100%. They've added over 30 transfers. They've added 8 junior college players, so around 40 veterans to their football team. When you add 40 vets, that's not including the high school class they signed. So this team is really 65, 70% new from last year's team. So a lot of new faces. They're playing hard. You can see Coach Levy and his identity is starting to show up, and the passion he has for the game is starting to show up. So a completely different football team. There are still some guys that are returning for them that were good football players last year that are returning again. But there's a lot of new guys.
So there you go. Got to find a hotel or they won't be able to play. I guess they're staying in Tupelo. All right. What? Okay, I just got a text, and it said, hey, Matt, loved hearing your on-field experience with the Cowbells yesterday. I'm wondering if, as a State player, do the Bells ever become a hindrance? You know, I don't think so. I don't, just me personally, you know, maybe you ask someone who played since they expanded the stadium the way it is now in the north end zone, which that would have been the 2014 season. So really just the last decade or so since that north end was closed in and the new expansion of the stadium. So it might be different in the last 10 years. And I go back way before that, obviously. But I don't remember it ever being a hindrance, even when it was really, really, really loud for us, for home team. You know, it was never a hindrance in terms of communication. You know, you might ask a visiting player and they tell you something different. You know, it's a weird thing that you kind of have to experience to maybe be able to wrap your head around. But even in the loudest of venues, there are times when, yeah, it can become a hindrance, but still you're almost overcoming it because you have to, and you're still sort of blocking it out. I don't know. You know, I look back and when I, you know, kind of rehearse memories in my head of being on the field and playing in games, you know, away games in the SEC that were really loud in front of lots of people, home games with cowbells going on. And it's like it's there, but it's really not. It's almost as if that's all that volume's just turned down because then you're really only focused on what you're doing. You know, I do remember like the first game that I ever started in college, we were on the road at South Carolina. And, you know, they historically have always had big crowds and they put 80-something thousand people in there, even when they're not, it doesn't matter if they're good or not. And we were late in that game. It's 14-10, which was the final score. It stood, but we had the ball. They were trying to get it back. We were coming off of about our own 10-yard line, so we're pretty backed up in front of that end zone where all the students are. And it was loud enough there in that moment that in the huddle, you know, I'm screaming out play call, and there were a few guys having a hard time hearing it, kind of on the edges of your huddle. And so I'd call it, scream it, most everybody get it, But then there'd be 2 or 3 were like, hey, I couldn't hear it. And I'd get right in their ear hole and give them the play and then give him the play and the count, you know. So that's a hindrance. But those still are pretty rare, actually. I mean, it's loud, but it's pretty rare that it's actually hindering your ability to run plays and talk to each other and communicate. Cowboy Ready texts the show and says, what does A&M stand for? What is it? Agricultural and what? Is it mechanical? It's not military. State Grad 98 says that East Texas A&M was his backup school if he hadn't gotten into state. Well, how about that? All right. J-Rock texts the show and says, well, I do love ice cream and I do love pecan pie. What could go wrong? I don't think anything could go wrong. Jason in Flagstaff says, why do so many teams stay in Tupelo? That's been a thing as long as I can remember, but not sure I've heard it explained. I don't know. Many visiting teams over the years would stay in Columbus, you know, and then that's really close by. And I don't know if maybe the hotel situation changed in Columbus or something, you know, maybe. It could possibly be that there are some teams that are actually flying into Tupelo instead of GTR. I mean, that could be it also. But Tupelo, just over the last 15, 20 years, Jason, has really grown and expanded in terms of hotel availability. And that's not only because of college teams coming and playing both State and Ole Miss or using Tupelo. Airport had something to do with it, but also expanded because the youth sports business in Tupelo grew so fast and so furious with the youth softball, soccer, baseball tournaments constantly in town. And so you can support the hotel. So you just have more and maybe a few bigger ones. I don't know. Maybe that's it. All right. Hour 2 rolling along. More texts. Get your calls in, your comments on the live stream, all of that and more. Back after this.
This is Jake Bailey. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, Matt Wyatt here. Each week on the Mississippi Outdoors Podcast, we talk with the people who live it. Hunters, biologists, game wardens, local celebrities, and storytellers that know Mississippi better than anyone.
Those bass come up there and attack them. You know how mean bass can be there.
You're never going to believe this. Matt Wyatt just talked about your deer on the radio. I said, what did he say? He said, it was Photoshopped. And I said, what?
They don't know anything about hunting. They just have never had that right, that freedom.
Dude, that's us, man. That's what we do. So tune in. Be inspired, and we'll see you outdoors.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah. Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go! with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, pork and pineapple. Bun size, 3 links bun size. Look at that right there. Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage. The Junction Deli's, convenience redefined, and Prince Oil Company, a match made in heaven. The Junction Deli, fueled by Prince Oil Company. Prince Oil Company has been fueling Central Mississippi since 1960. It's a pretty good little while. Wonderful people. Man, am I ever more tickled that they're a part of the show and I'm a part of their team now. As you know, if you listen to the radio show, I've been to the Junction in several different places around the state. I've bought gas just like you.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Farm Bureau, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau all across the great state of Mississippi. Hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau insurance agents. If you are just tuning in, you might have missed the headlines from hour one. So listen up.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. That's mortgagemanms.com. Alabama will be without defensive lineman Jeremiah Beeman for the rest of the season after he suffered a lower body injury in practice yesterday. The hits are piling up for Alabama. Now they're playing Louisiana Monroe this coming Saturday night. It's at 6:45 in Tuscaloosa. And it probably didn't mean much then, but not good news for Alabama. They need some good news. They need it fast. The head coach needs it fast. Awful news out of Florida State, but at least he's in stable condition. Florida State freshman linebacker Ethan Pritchard was shot in the back of the head Sunday night. That, according to his father, he remains in stable condition at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. He was driving his aunt to her daughter's house about 15 miles from Tallahassee in Havana, Florida. They turned the corner, heard gunshots. But right now, stable condition, Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. We wish him the best. On the NIL front, more than 8,300, that'd be 8,300 NIL deals worth a little over $80 million have been approved by the new commission. The College Sports Commission has cleared 8,300 name, image, and likeness deals worth $80 million. They put the report out today in a full update to show how it's all working. Now, they are in charge of approving contracts worth $600 or more between college athletes and third-party companies. So do the math on it if you want to. And tonight, On NBC, we got football. It's going to be Eagles and there it is. There's the button. There it is. Yeah, Cowboys and Eagles. NBC/Peacock. 7:20 p.m. is the kickoff time. All right. 7:20 p.m. kickoff time. So that I can watch the Eagles beat the Cowboys. I'm going to say the final score will be 31-17. I'm pulling for Dak. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is a magical year that nobody saw coming. I'm just afraid for his sake he's at the wrong place. Don't you think? Don't you think? I mean, I'm glad for him. He seems happy as all get out. He can't spend all his money if he wanted to. You know, good. Okay, good. But if it's about winning the whole thing, he's in the wrong place. Is he going to have to do what Matthew Stafford did? Could he do what Matthew Stafford did? I just thought of that. How many years was... Hang on. I'm looking it up. How many years was Matthew Stafford in Detroit? Some of y'all probably know that off the top of your head. He was there forever. Okay, so he started with Detroit in 2009. Of course, he's a first-round deal, right? 2009. And his last year there was 20. So you're actually talking about what? If you count us 11 full seasons? Yeah. No, 12. 3, 4, 7, 8. Yeah, so 12 full seasons in Detroit before bouncing over to the Rams and winning the whole shooting match there. Sven says on YouTube, Dak will never leave the Cowboys. I guess what I'm saying is like, if he wants to win a Super Bowl, he's going to have to. There's no other way to say it. It's just, that's just not a place where it's going to happen. I'm sorry to say it that way to my friend Prince from the Junction phone line. Philip, he's a Cowboys fan. He's the biggest Cowboys fan who also simultaneously loathes them seemingly all the time. But he's a Cowboys fan. This is going to be what? Dak's what? 1. So this is Dak's 10th year in the league. Think about that. Think about Stafford was in Detroit for 12 seasons going through all that. Playing great, and just not going to win because organizationally it was just not happening. He bounces up out of there and goes and wins one. And it's almost like that was the wake up call for Detroit. And everybody going, late. Look, the issue wasn't him, it's us. We got it. And they've sort of turned it around. It doesn't hurt they have a really talented QB that they got in the trade who was all good and mad and ready to prove everybody wrong. But he would have to be there for 2 more years to sort of copy what Stafford did and at that age be capable of bouncing up out of there, go to a good team who's got everything but a veteran quarterback. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's the only, I hate to say it, but the chance for Dak to win the whole thing and get to play in a Super Bowl, that's it. It's at some point, it's over with Dallas, and you get something to go to where, like, you show up in Pittsburgh or, I don't know, San Francisco. Because those teams go to Super Bowls. They will. How else can you say it without, you can be accurate but not necessarily specific. Let's say it like this. Which NFL teams and franchises are you certain, it's a certainty that it's just a matter of a few years they will show up in Super Bowls? 49ers? Okay, and we're excluding the ones that's obvious, okay? Kansas City, maybe even Philadelphia. So exclude those, that's obvious. Chiefs are obvious. Others, 49ers, Pittsburgh, Green Bay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who else? No, not Tampa. Absolutely not. Patriots? I don't know anymore. Aren't we seeing the same teams in the Super Bowl over and over and over again recently? And primarily because of the Chiefs. Aren't we, though? Here we go. Recent history. Eagles, Chiefs, Chiefs, 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs. Rams, Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks, Chiefs, 49ers. Rams, Pats, Patriots. We're back in the Brady days now. So Patriots, Rams, Patriots, Eagles, Patriots, Falcons, Broncos, Panthers, Seahawks, Patriots, Broncos, Seahawks, 49ers, Ravens. Hey, and the Giants. That's another question for me. How soon will Jackson Dart be their starter this year? Because it's coming. That one's coming. Sven says, call me crazy. Washington with Jaden Daniels and the Giants with Dart, Scattaboo, Abdul Carter. And he says, as long as this dinosaur is a GM of the Cowboys, nothing will change. Look, they are at the bottom of that division. The Cowboys are at the bottom of that division right now, today. Yep. There ain't no doubt about it. They're at the bottom of that division. The Commanders, your Washington Commanders, have not only in the last, since we've been following Dak and the Cowboys, right? In the last 5 years, have not only caught the Cowboys, but have passed them and are light years ahead of them. Light years. And here come the Giants. Here come the Giants. Regarding Dak, somebody texted in and said he went to Mississippi State, so he's used to being in the wrong place. Jeremy B commented on the country pleasing text line and said, Matt, it's hard to analyze since there are several changes on the state offensive line. But how do you see them matching up with Arizona State's front seven, who brings back most guys and who shut the state running game down last year? Well, that's a great question, Jeremy, and I thank you for it. And what I'll do is I'll talk about just that when we come back in a minute. So stay tuned, because I do have some thoughts about it. And I think there's a lot of pressure on them as a group. I think there's a lot of pressure on State's offensive line going into the game. Tell you some thoughts on that. We'll have plenty of time to wrap things up with you here today on this Thursday in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. Stick around.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, pork and pineapple. Bun size, 3 links, bun size. Look at that right there. Whee! Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage. We'll be right back after this message from C Spire. My name is Matt Wyatt. I host the Matt Wyatt radio show out of my home using C Spire fiber.
And when we hit the road as a family, Matt's show goes with us, thanks to C Spire Wireless.
Its ultra-reliable nationwide network lets me broadcast live from anywhere.
And never miss a moment that matters.
Connecting you to what inspires you most on C Spire's blazing fast 5G network. And right now, get your choice of free phone. That's customer inspired. That's C Spire.
Y'all like coffee? I know you do. Check it out. Little High Point Roasters from New Albany, Mississippi. That is the breakfast blend. It's a whole bean. And if you notice, that's how much I've had already. Brazil Oberon. Not Orgeron or Orgeron, you LSU. No, Brazil Oberon. That ain't all. What we got there? What flavor is that? Papua New Guinea, grade AA. Bring it on. High Point Roasters, New Albany, Mississippi. Roasted right there. That's whole bean. One more. I got more. Ah, tried and true. Magnolia Blend. High Point Roasters coffee, New Albany, Mississippi. It is the best.
And worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you. A little bit of time left with you here today on this Thursday in the Bureau. Now, Jeremy asked me on the Country Pleasing text line about State's offensive line and their matchup with Arizona State's front seven. They're bringing a bunch of guys back from last year who sort of shut State's run game down last season. And I mentioned I felt like there was some pressure on them. And Sven said State has absolutely no pressure. Nobody expects from us to be the top 5 quarterback in Arizona State. Can we do it? Yes, but if it's close loss and we see progress, I'm okay with that. Here's what I meant by saying, there's some pressure. It is true, okay, that State as a program spent a lot of money to improve their line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Okay, that is true. And you do have some returning players in that offensive line group. Luke Work, who missed last week, maybe gets out there this week. Albert Reese is back, as a part of your group. Ken Boone, who, he's a returning guy. He just hadn't played much up until this year, but he kind of won the center job. So those are some guys who are expected to play that. But, then there's others. Jackson's a second-year transfer. Owens was starting at right guard last week. Steen won the right tackle job, got banged up last week. We'll see if he's able to go this week. And then the other guys who have kind of been in that mix. On top of the fact that it was a glaring issue on the team last year, and they made a coaching change on the offensive line too. Lode Holt coming in to run that group. And everybody kind of knowing, you look back at last year, that group specifically on the offensive side of the ball, that was the deal that had to improve the most, was consistency in how you play on your offensive line. That's what I mean, I think, in terms of pressure is, one hand, they're college aged. The idea is that they're students, although, at a lot of schools and maybe even some at State, I question whether some of them are even going to school or value it. Okay, just saying. But that's the one hand. But on the other hand, you're paying them to play football. And so how do you go through the process of paying somebody to do something without there being some pressure to do it? And then if you don't do it, well, by George, we'll pay somebody else to do it. You see what I mean? So when I say pressure, it's like there's a whole different atmosphere out there now than there used to be. And so that's one thing. Okay, but then I feel like there's a little bit of a focus also. So you can call it focus or you can call it pressure, whatever. But there's some focus on that offensive line going into this week too, because they were pretty good at times last week, but they were also inconsistent last week against a team that is not as good as the one they fixed to play this week. That's a fact. And it's glaring when, your best position group from a talent standpoint is probably that running back room on offense. And it's really glaring if they're not able to win games for you because they're so dependent on what's happened up front. So that's what I'm saying is I think there's some pressure on him to really play better than he did last week, more consistent than he did last week. And the other thing is it's doubly difficult when you don't have back-to-back weeks with the same people. Okay, we talk about consistency and reps together as a group, as a 5-man group. And you're already rotating some during the game, but then now your right tackle gets hurt. He was out. Last week, the guard work was out. Maybe he's back. So it could all still feel a little new this week. We'll see. This got to be better. I mean, that's really the driving point there, Jeremy. I said it at the very beginning of the show. I went and I watched some more plays. I actually pulled out some examples, do a little film study of the opponent. I'll post that on YouTube at some point, hopefully tonight. We'll see. It might be tomorrow morning. And that was the thing I came away with. Okay, Arizona State, whether they're executing it well or they have a mistake, this is one thing that is constant with them. They are very fast and very urgent and very physical. They were more physical against their opponent last week than State was against its opponent last week. So, the physicality part of it, if it doesn't pick up a notch this week for State against this opponent at home, it'll be a long night. I'm telling you. So there's some pressure on them. As far as Arizona State's defense, they're not the biggest front seven in terms of heft and weight and all that you're going to face this year. They're not the largest bunch you're going to face. They are experienced. They are active. And it's almost like, last week against Northern Arizona, they were very vanilla up front defensively for the most part. There were a few instances where they did some stunning and stuff. They did every now and then change it up and go 3-man front. They were primarily a 4-man front defensively. And there was a few times they tried a twist here or there. They did a little more of that against their opponent than State did against its opponent. But for the most part, vanilla. And it was almost like they approached it as their job was to play the run on the way to the quarterback and really just keep keep everything clean so that linebackers and secondary could make plays. And they sort of did that, throughout the ball game. Northern, it was almost honestly kind of like looking at their tape of that game last week, though, Jeremy. It's kind of hard to tell because Northern Arizona did not do a very good job from an assignment standpoint. They doubled their issues a lot of times with they didn't have as big and as good athletes as Arizona, and they doubled up their issues by blocking the wrong people and going in the wrong lanes and skipping blocks when you're pulling on the edge. There's a few times where you have like if you hear of a GT counter, well, that's a counter that runs a counter. Running back steps one way and then takes a handoff going back the other way. And you counter step to give time for the GT, guard and tackle, to pull around and be your lead blockers going back the other way. And there was one time specifically where for Northern Arizona, it was the guard and not the tackle, it was a tight end. Guard and tight end were the two pullers in front of the counter. And both of them bypassed the in-man line of scrimmage on the other side. They both ran right by him. Not one, but two guys ran right by him. He's unblocked, makes tackle for loss for about 2 yards. They just ran right by him. Some things like this. So they didn't help themselves at all. And it almost felt like watching it, Arizona State was like, look, against these guys, we're not going to have to be like super duper active and stunning all over the place and switching up our fronts. We just kind of play base football. We'll be fine. And they did that for the most part. And they won't be able to do that against State because they're playing a little bit better athletes and better running backs, and they'll switch it up. But there were a lot of times where you'd see how active and how physical the back end of their defense was. There was one play early, and I'll highlight that in that upcoming kind of opponent preview film study. I'll put it out on YouTube. It was early in the game, and their safety, strong safety, he sees a screen on one side and ran it down and was absolutely a missile and came out of nowhere, flying in there, boom, big collision, knocks a running back off his feet. They were really flying around playing physical. So they'll do it again this week, and State's going to have to be ready for that. Hey, Bubba, thanks for the text. It was great to meet you, too, yesterday. Y'all, yesterday at a dove hunt, I met a guy named Bubba Watson, 2012 Masters champion, as far as you know. No, he's a different Bubba Watson from Vicksburg. Bubba, it was great to meet you also. And it really was. And after the rain stopped, weather turned out to be perfect, didn't it? Bodine Dog texted the show. He says, Matt, I'll tell you this. Philadelphia Eagles will repeat as Super Bowl champions. They won it again so much. They are focused. And then he said, love the show, and it's part of my day. All right. They're winning one. And, boy, they have sure been there. So what's the second one they've won in recent memory? They had another one they were in. And I tell you, they were – the whole time, it seems like the last 10 years, the Cowboys getting all the attention. And quietly, it was the Eagles that are the class of that division. Multiple Super Bowls. Really, one of the teams, you could say, the class of the NFC. Well, thank y'all for being here today. Hunter's Right on YouTube. Football tonight through Monday. Yes, please. Yep, starts tonight. Dak and the Cowboys versus the Eagles, and then you got football every day up through early next week. That'll wrap it up for today. We'll have a Friday show together tomorrow. For Beaver and all of us here on the show, thanks for being here. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. See you tomorrow. See ya.